What is going on, guys? My name is Feeds, and welcome back to Feeds Mindset, episode number 32 with the man Flamey. How are you, Flamey? Welcome in.
Dude, I'm doing amazing today. Thanks for having me, bro. I'm really excited, bro. Really
Yeah,
excited.
of course. I really appreciate your time. Something that I always kind of preference at the very beginning, just something I always do is I like to kind of talk about the relationship with anybody I have on. Me and you are pretty much random people, I would say. You know, we don't really know each other that well and stuff, which is never really a bad thing. But it's something I always like pointing out because a lot of people are so fixated on only connecting with people that they really know, and the beauty in connecting with other people that you've never met before. I mean, it could turn into your next, lifelong best friend. I mean, you never know.
Of course, yeah. I mean, like you said, we don't know each other great. Obviously, names we're acquainted for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's gonna be nice to dive a little bit deeper for sure.
Yeah,
So
definitely. So again, obviously, I do appreciate your time being here, especially on a short notice. I guess it just kind of worked out that we were both free on Sunday, so
yeah,
it
yeah.
kind of worked out. So before we kind of get into most of it, the first thing I always ask at the very beginning is, for anybody that doesn't know you or anybody from your side that's popping in or from my side that's checking in, who would you say Flamey is as of today? What do you do? Where do you stream? Where's your content? And just who is Flamey?
Um, so Flamey. First of all, I'm a streamer. I'm a content creator. I would say I fall under the variety category. I mainly stream Fortnite on stream, but where I put my variety at is in my personality and my content. I'm constantly posting things on my other socials that aren't necessarily gaming oriented. They're more into content niche, like how do you grow, how do you do this. I'm kind of all over the place. I like to say I can do a little bit of everything, but I have definitely had the most fun with Fortnite over my career, and I feel like that's kind of where I found my space.
Really?
But yeah, just positive viber, positivity pusher, and just want to be an inspiration to as many people as I can before I leave this little rock floating around the sun. So
Yeah, so was Fortnite kind of something that had sparked your, career per se that really kind of got you into things, or was there something before that?
yeah, so Fortnite was actually my first video game I ever played. Like
Really?
on a multiplayer level.
Right.
Um, as far as like online, I say that I grew up on Roblox, which was very very childish to a lot of people, but I didn't know there was a world of video games outside of
Hey man,
Roblox. I
hey
thought,
man, Roblox dodgeball went hard, man.
yeah,
That was difficult.
I grew up there, and I didn't have a PC growing up. I had my little DS, and I never played console in my life. To this day, I don't play on controller. I have one for when I've started branching out my games a little bit, and I do play controller on Rocket League and like this Naruto game, fighting games. I play
Hmm.
controller. But I've still to this day never played COD on controller, never played Fortnite on controller. Like a controller still feels weird to me. I have big hands, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
not fun. But yeah, Fortnite kind of got me into the space, and yeah, I haven't really looked back since 2017. I started playing. I was in a random call with my Discord friends from Roblox, and they were like, "Hey, you heard of Fortnite?" I'm like, "Is that like a movie coming out? Like what's Fortnite?" And they're like, "Nah, it's a game." I'm like, "On Roblox? Like it's a Roblox game?" And so I'm looking it up. I'm like, "What is this Fortnite thing?" And then my friend's like, "No, just download it off the internet." And at the time, I didn't have a gaming PC, so I'm like, I could not run Fortnite. And so that's kind of like where I got into stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I started playing on my old PC, and about a year in, I bought an actual PC. So it's kind of what got me in.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. And I do want to kind of tap into that a little bit more, for because there's the Fortnite content creation side of it, like it's so huge. I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. I mean, I it's kind of argumentative, but I feel like Fortnite is something that kind of revolutionized gaming because I mean, if you look at the statistics of how many people have dived into Fortnite alone, just playing it, and then obviously content creation. I mean, it's putting up numbers like COD, which is crazy. Like I don't think at the time whenever Fortnite first came out, I remember it just being a fun little silly game that I would play, but I would have never imagined it be where it's at today. I mean, because we're still like a couple years in, and people are still playing it like crazy. And I think the
Mm.
the add on to that is that it's like when that happens with COD, it's usually like a new franchise or a new game coming out. But with Fortnite, it's been Fortnite. Like it's not changed. No Fortnite 2, no Fortnite 3, and everybody is still on that mainstream game, and that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing Fortnite has done very well at the beginning, like you said, it kind of came out of nowhere, but it's different. It's a battle royale, but it appeals to everybody at least at this point. It didn't always do that. Sweats got to be sweats,
Hmm.
and the game got unpopular. But then Fortnite found a way to fix that. They didn't make a new game and dodge the problems. They listened to the community and fixed what's going on. I'm pretty new to the COD space. I just started playing COD about 3 months ago, and really, as somebody from the outside world looking in, I just see it as a pump and dump. COD starts struggling with players, and they're like, "Oh, let's announce a new game," and then it's
Yeah.
literally just, all COD is a point and click shooter. It's a lot of fun with friends. But at the end of the day, like the game doesn't really change, just the weapons and stuff within the game. With Fortnite, they've got so much stuff they can add in that it's constantly new. It's constantly like engaging for people. All the collaborations they do and the ability for creators to make their own games now. It's just like it's like you said, revolutionized the space. And people like to hate on Fortnite and talk about like, oh, it's childish, it's cringy. No, Fortnite's what you make it. And that's kind of like what I have with Roblox too. If you're too tired of playing the game, then start making the games, and you can get money from it. Like Fortnite has done that now. I have friends of mine within the space that are making thousands and thousands a month. Like they're making six figures just off Fortnite. Like creative. They're not big
Yeah.
or anything like that. They just make tons of money. But they once again started losing passion for the game, and Fortnite gave them another way to stay engaged. So yeah, really revolutionized the space. Content is there. I said a lot of people look in on it and think it's cringe, but you can do anything you want with Fortnite. You can do skill play content. You can do personality content, challenge content, whatever you want. Like there is something to be found in Fortnite. They've got Guitar Hero basically now and Rocket Racing, which is
Yeah.
like I said, there's just so much there.
Yeah,
So
it's evolving like crazy.
yeah, it's one of those games that you can sit there as a content creator or a streamer and just vibe out with people. So yeah, Fortnite is where my heart is. It's where my
Yeah.
heart is.
Yeah, no, I understand, and I wouldn't really say I'm on that bandwagon. Clearly, I don't like Fortnite that much. Like my personal opinion, I just don't like it as a game. It's just not as enjoying to me. But something you can't deny, just like I said, it's revolutionized and it's done something that hardly any other games has. Like if you think of the COD franchise and you think of if they were to constantly implement things into the game to keep it going for years and years, Black Ops 2 would probably be the only Call of Duty that could go outside of 1, 2, 3 years without being boring per se. Every other COD, eventually you're going to hop on something else, and so that is some kind of credibility I would give to Fortnite, especially when I would definitely say for me when they release the no builds back out. That was something that got me into it. Obviously, I don't really play it. I just kind of play it every now and then if somebody wants to play or needs a fourth or something. But the only time I did play was when no builds was involved, because that was just like a lot of, I wouldn't say everybody else, but a lot of other people, is when the building aspect started going really crazy. That's when like I lost interest. I'm like, I'm not that guy. Like I that's not me. Like I can't compete like that. That's out of my zone. But then when they added the no build back in, I was like, okay, like I can have fun again. And it was great when they added no builds. It was awesome.
I mean, that's like you said. They added something and they didn't make a new game. Fortnite fixed the problem. They listened to the community and said, hey, we're losing players because these competitive players are just too competitive. The normal player can't go into a game and laugh and have fun. So we're gonna make a way for them to do that. And so they made ranked and they made no builds. So yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
And now no builds has a competitive side too. So you can still be competitive in no builds, but it's
true.
I feel like that's much more divided for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, I mean, we'll probably talk a little bit more into it when we get into it. But now I think we've kind of reached a good point to kind of start getting an understanding of your background. So before the content creation, before all the offline stuff and the streaming and the Fortnite and everything, just gaming, getting into gaming and understanding the space and how it was. Kind of take me through that background of what Flamey's life looked like when you first got into gaming, understanding what the space is.
So, like I mentioned before, I got into gaming very late. 2017 was kind of my first introduction. I'm 22 years old now, so that would have been, 7 years ago. So 15, 16 years old is when I really got into the multiplayer online part of games. I grew up with, everybody else's Nintendo, Pokemon, Super Mario, the Wii. That's probably the only console I've ever touched is the Wii. And then my brother played Xbox games and kind of introduced me to some of that. He played Call of Duty and Halo and stuff like that. Never online, just like as himself. My parents sheltered us a lot as far as not being on the online world. They were scared of it and kept us away. But when I started playing Fortnite in 2017, I just played. It took me 2 years of kind of just talking to people and having fun with people. I didn't even know what Twitch was at the time. Or even really, I know what YouTube was, but I didn't really understand what it meant to be like a creator. I just saw people on a screen. I was still very young. But then, I started playing Fortnite more and, meeting friends that were talking about streaming and, some of them even started streaming and then quit and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? I have a pretty good personality for this stuff. So let's just see where it takes me. And in 2019, I started college. I graduated high school. I had an offer to go play professional Fortnite in right out of high school, which was very rare for the space. Very
Nice.
common now.
Yeah.
Very common now, but you know, back then was still kind of a newer thing with competitive. But after Booga won, you know, $1 million, the year later, you know, colleges were looking.
Yeah.
That stuff gets out, and I kind of kept me in the space and kept me driving. And yeah, 2019 COVID hit and everybody was home. I didn't hop on the train right away. Like a lot of people, you know, turned to streaming to cope and to talk to people because we couldn't go out. We were quarantined.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I found Twitch and started watching streamers. And you know, like I started feeling I'm very similar to these people. Like I have a good personality. I have a good mission statement. I have something that I wanna share with people. I have a story, and so whether or not that story gets delivered through the way I play or the way I act, or just getting to sit down and have conversations like this, at some point I know that I can have a platform to where I can help other people. And so I started streaming and I started growing, and I haven't really looked back. So 2020 is when I started doing that, and I've been around on a couple different accounts now, and kindly, you know, rebranded 4 or 5 times and finally
Mhm.
found where I want to be here. So
Yeah.
it's kind of how I got taken to my point of Flamey, and the, you know, Fortnite positive creator that I am today. So
Yeah, definitely, and we'll definitely get into the background of Flaming, where it stemmed from here in a little bit. But
mm,
something obviously that you highlight, I want to talk about. Obviously, COVID times. I feel like there's a lot of people that kind of like cringe a little bit when they start talking about COVID, but it was a time that, you know, I don't like using this word again, but I kind of have to revolutionize. You know, like
yeah,
COVID made a distinctive impact on so many people's lives, and even to mine. You know, before I got into all my kind of stuff, you know, which this was, you know, I still had a PC around the time I uploaded this, but Black Ops 4 was the Call of Duty that really got me out there. That's where feeds started happening. If you search up feeds best of BO4, that was my mark as a console player. Never touched, you know, PC, keyboard, mouse, under that. You know, I played on Xbox and PS4. I had both consoles, and I literally switched between. When the lobbies were bad, I'd hop on PS4. When lobbies were bad, I'd hop on Xbox.
yeah,
But that was something that I did in my pastime, and I did a little bit of streaming just off the console itself, playing Black Ops 4 and having fun or whatever. But when COVID hit, um, when I was doing that COD content and stuff, when COVID had hit, I was making just a little bit more money, like probably like 150, $200 more than what I was making at my job. And so for 2 weeks, I put that back. Plus, obviously, I was out of work and I didn't have to spend money on food and on gas and stuff. So I was saving
mm,
more money that way. So I decided to save up $800 for 2 weeks. And there's a local business 2 hours away from me, that I ended up buying a pre-built PC at, and I just threw my money at it. And
yeah,
it was originally like, I think like $1,000 for, and it was an awful PC, but it was like $1,000 for the PC. And I was like, hey, I have $800 cash right now. And they was like, you know what, whatever, like, here you go. And that's what started my my Valorant career. Valorant was probably the number one game that, you know, everybody talk, and I appreciate it. I do. I don't want to oversight the saying that I'm not appreciative of all the nice things people say about me and my clips and everything that I do. Like, it does mean a lot. But all of that skill, you know, and however you want to perceive that, went from Valorant. I played Valorant for about a year and a half. I was a Sova
mm,
main. I started out as a Jet main, and then they had nerfed her dash. You ended up having to click E twice to dash. So I went from a Jet player that would op all the time to a Sova player that started understanding lineups and cool stuff and all that stuff. And I'd
yeah,
played that, and I'd went all the way to, let me think. I think it was like Platinum 3. It wasn't very high, but I wasn't very focused on being competitive. I was just playing to play it. And being on that game for so long had really, really developed my keyboard and mouse skills. And
oh yeah.
so at the time, I started kind of getting a little bit burnt out. When Cold War and Shit Guard came out, I hated both of those CODs. They were awful. And
I love, I
so
know what that means. I don't even play COD. I know what that means, bro.
so I didn't like either of those CODs. So that was to kind of get in that dull space. That was what Valorant covered when those was coming out and everybody was having fun and all that stuff. So then MW2 had came out. And so I was like, you know what? Like, I'm a little bit bored of Valorant. I've not played COD in well over a year. You know, let me get back into it and see. And I mean, like, first 5 minutes I was in the game, it just felt fluid. I was hitting quick scopes like I'd been playing every single day. You know, I was having great movement. I was getting called a cheater all of a sudden. I was getting reported. I got shadow banned. You know, like, it just, all this kind of stuff started lining up. And so I was going and I was hitting some feeds and all that kind of stuff. But then the thing that really marked as far as me getting my exposure on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it is when Ranked came out. When Ranked came out for
Mm,
MW2, I was one of, I would say, about 5 actual consistent sniping only players. That was something that I loved doing for my content. I would snipe only in ranked play. And so I would go against all these kids that would try to be the next scump and the next professional player or whatever. And I'd quick scope them and shit them on with the sniper and stuff. And I would just get great reactions. I would get people that would call me trash. I'd get people that report me. I'd get people that say that I'm insane and, am I cheating? Blah, blah, blah. And it just highlighted a whole new avenue. And fast forward like 2 or 3 months into ranked play, every sniper that I knew was playing it pretty much died down, and I was the only one left. And so it was still good content for me that really got me out there. But being able to buy my first PC during COVID and having that Valorant structure, if that had never happened, I mean, hell, even the clips that I'm going for right now for NorCal, I don't want to talk about the grind too much because I don't want to make it a part of this podcast. But the clips that I've currently hit are
yeah.
because of that background and because of what I can do today. And I'm very proud and I'm privileged of it. And I'm glad that people see me that way. But I think that's a unique perspective. I think a lot of people kind of get wrapped up in how good they are now and they don't focus on what made them that type of player. I mean, would you kind of agree? Would you
Mm.
say the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, everybody grew up a newbie, and whatever game they played, I played Valorant too. I remember starting out. I played in beta. I remember watching Twitch, getting into Valorant, and then I needed a break from Fortnite. And I remember all that stuff. Everybody starts somewhere, and nobody really thinks about like how bad they were. And that's why I also loved content creating and stuff like that because you can go back and look at like how far you've come. Like I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't do enough. And yeah, it's crazy to think about like I started as this person who didn't even know how to use my mouse keyboard. Like I
Yeah.
just I got on and started hitting stuff. And yeah, for me, Fortnite was tough. But when creative came out, I was one of those players that was in box fights and zone wars every single day, and that kind of just got me really good at the game. And at a time, I probably could have gone head to head with Ninja in his prime. I say that pretty confidently.
Yeah.
Tfue might have given me some trouble, but um, yeah, I mean this stuff. Stuff progresses really quick in gaming, and I think you don't realize it because it just comes so naturally. It's like an experience thing in life. The more you do it, the better you are. But it's just like your body just naturally gets better. So I've slowly been getting back into competitive. I've been streaming and content creating for about a year straight of just like personality and vibing
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I took some time last night and tried out a new duo, and we did really well. And I haven't had as much passion for the competitive side of gaming in a long time. And so I feel like where I'm at now with my knowledge of the gaming space and everything like that, I'm looking forward to using those skills I've developed over the years, getting back into competitive and making some content out of it. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that. I'm kind of excited,
Yeah,
but
definitely. No, I'm excited for you for sure, and that's kind of something else I wanted to tap into before we kind of get into PC gaming and streaming and stuff. Off of your gaming background and everything that happened. Was there before Fortnite and all that stuff? You said you was into Pokemon and all that kind of stuff. Is there a game that kind of highlighted for you that like if this game can make a difference in my day, like what other game could do that? Is there a game that kind of hits home for you as a kid? Something that you played a lot?
Hmm. So not really a game. I really only played Roblox as a kid growing up the most.
Hmm.
But through Roblox, I started getting into like groups and stuff like that. And it's kind of hard to explain to somebody who's not really in the scene, but they were like not role play groups, but like
Hmm.
to an extent, like just groups with similar interests and stuff. And then we started getting the Skype chats and Discord became a thing for me. I started actually getting voice calls to these people and talking with them and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I would say like that was kind of what I look forward to. I did a lot in school. We're gonna get into it later with the mental health and
Hmm.
like background and just like not everything is all sweet and cozy.
Right.
But we'll get into that later. I had a lot going on in my life at the time as a kid, and coming out of school and sports and stuff like that, I definitely looked forward to getting home and getting on with my homies. Like I didn't even though I was very around in school and I got involved a lot. I had a very hard time making friends because believe it or not, I'm pretty shy in person. I come out online with this huge personality and and I am like this once I get to open up and know people, but I'm never the one to make the first move. I'm never the
Hmm.
one to go up to people most of the time. And I've gotten really better about that the last 2 years. I think
Yeah.
I think my conventions and stuff have helped. But yeah, that's really what I look forward to was going home and playing my friends, and then my friends would mention other games and stuff, and that's really what got me into the space. Is like I don't have a gaming background as much as people might think, or as much as a lot of people that are going to be watching this are going to think like, I've been playing games my whole life. What's this guy doing out here? 5-6 years. It's like, yeah, I mean, I played video games, but the big name ones like Call of Duty and Overwatch
Right.
and Valorant, but they weren't in my scene until 2017.
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of, I love that out of you because I mean, yeah, you don't have a specific game that kind of helped mold you or whatever, but you took it as an utmost positive than most people usually do. You took the background and the connections you would make from meeting other people playing games in that placement of the game being something you'll always remember and something you'll always enjoy. And I think that's kind of more wholesome than it is actually having a game, So I am proud of you for that. And, it's kind of sick to know that, you are still really shy and it's hard making the first move. And my podcast was the same way. That was a main reason I did not start the podcast. I had so many issues just reaching out because I was like, what are they going to say? Are they going to, do bad on my podcast? What if I have them on my podcast and I ask a dumb question or I make them feel uncomfortable? Yada, yada. Like just all these thoughts running through my head. And that's what stepped me back from making, doing something simple as my podcast. But in the month of August, I finally got to a point where I was like, you know what, like last year per se, obviously, because we're in 2024 now.
Yeah.
So last year, was one of the worst years I've ever had. And so to end off, that's kind of where I started coming to my senses. Like, okay, like life's getting a little bit better. Like, what can I do? And so I got into my podcast, I think like June or July. I did like 2 or 3 episodes. And then the month of August, I was like, you know what? I have some time. I was unemployed for that little bit. So I was like, I have some time. Let me do something with it. And from August 1st to August 30th, I think I released like 20 to 25 episodes. And every day I was waking up, reaching out to creators. Every weekend I was trying to set up things. There was some podcast that I did back to back, just like 30 minutes in between after having the conversation. And I had this motivation that I'd never had before. And it was all because I started getting out of my comfort zone. And if I would have never done that, hell, this conversation me and you were having could be awkward if I had never done that. Like I don't know where I would be.
It could never happen.
Yeah, like I do know that I'm a people person, but at the end of the day, it's my experience that's made me comfortable to be able to do something like this, and for you guys to watch, whoever's watching. And if all of that didn't happen, if I didn't have that motivation, I may not be where I'm at today. So I think that's a really important factor to look at of things that mold you. And it doesn't always have to be I guess the best terminology nowadays would be the meta, like you don't have to relate to somebody else to relate to them.
No, I think that's an important life skill to you have to learn about too with that experience is you can always find something in somebody else that you have in common. But you have to know enough about yourself first. And that's something that we've mentioned a lot is like I learn a lot through other people. I started streaming, a lot of the creators I started supporting early, I started supporting them when they had 5 to 10 viewers, and now some of my friends have blown up. They're averaging hundreds of viewers, and I still talk to those people. I'm somebody who never ever forgets my roots, and I've always preached about that. I've always said like, hey, like I've never forget you guys. There's people who come into my chat 4 years, they've popped in after not seeing them for a year, and I'll be like, oh my god, like welcome back. Like I remember you, like I remember you, and it's just like the coolest feeling ever to know that like I started somewhere, just like all these other people. And that's kind of what got me starting to be less scared to network and stuff is, I've been to 2 TwitchCons now. Last year was my first one. I was with an organization called Pulsar. I was their content and stream lead. Really, that's kind of when my career was starting as a creator. I really buckled down about 2 years ago. And that's been 3. It's 2021. That's been 3 years ago now. And I really that end of that summer, like July, I started buckling down, and I took everything that I learned over the years, and really just started condensing content and streaming and like networking, realizing what I had to do, and I got into an organization and that I really loved. And beyond an organization, they were friends. I went to college with this guy, and I got an invitation to join his org, and that got me connected with all these other orgs. And I'm like, wow, there's a whole organization space. Like I realized I'm in college playing Fortnite, and I see all these orgs and people's names. I didn't really know what they meant, Then I'm realizing people make this a job and it's a career, and outside of just streaming, like I can take what I love and
yeah,
maybe and make a living off of it. And so going to that TwitchCon, I was very shy at first. It took me the whole first day to really open up and get, hey, my name's Flamey, like, hey, this, and go around and talk to people. But just getting to see all my friends that I had made online in person really just gave me like a next level of confidence because people are coming up to me and being like, "Oh my God, it's Flamey. It's so good to meet you." Like the space is just people got to realize that no matter how many numbers people have, sure there are some that will get an ego, but there's still people just like you. Sometimes they just want to be normal. Like I said, last year I went to TwitchCon. This year I went with NorCal. I loved that experience. I don't think I think a lot of my success the last 3 months has been due to that trip.
Mhm.
Um, I got in with my partners. NorCal's affiliated with HyperX, G Fuel. I got invited to both events. I got invited to go hang out with XSET, which is like the
Yeah.
biggest org in the scene right now. They're up and coming. They do everything. I met
Right. Yeah,
people
I know
that were
them.
stars on Netflix. I got to go see a private T Grizzly concert. Like they're connected everywhere, and I still talk to their managers and like all sorts of stuff. But like once again, that was just me finally realizing that these are people. Like sometimes they just want to have conversations. There's a time and a place for business, and then there's a time and a place for just having fun
Yeah.
and just getting to have fun with people and show people my personality. Like it just made me realize that like I just at the end of the day, the worst you can get is a no, or even better, they just don't respond. And I've had that a lot. But the getting to go to those TwitchCon conventions has really brought like my personality out more and made me realize that like, hey, I can go introduce myself. They're not gonna be weird about it. We're in public. Like I totally understand like there's different reactions and stuff. But if I make that first reaction, they might be thinking the same thing as me. I can't go talk to this guy. Like it's just kind of weird. But if I
Yeah.
go and do that, it's like I said, people are people, and it's really important to remember that as a creator that like no matter what, you came from somewhere just like all these other big creators you're seeing, they came from where you are right now. They were averaging 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 viewers, just getting partnered. They're still humans, and just like I like to look back on my past and my roots. So do a lot of these creators. They like to remember that feeling of when they were small, when they were working and in the trenches 24/7. Like that's definitely a feeling that some creators like to think about a lot more than others. And so I always remember my roots. Like I said, I go back
Yeah.
into those chats and they remember me. I've done a good job staying in touch, but without those connections and stuff, without getting out of my comfort zone, I wouldn't even be having this conversation with you today.
Yeah.
I'd still be just a Twitch viewer.
Yeah,
And
100%. Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think that's kind of that's the harsh reality, telling somebody that the worst thing they can say is no, and you won't know it till you get in. Like everybody says the same thing. It's like yeah, man, and they start mocking, and they're like, oh, like it's so easy for you, and it's like that's the harsh reality. Like you mock it and you think that it's dumb, but it truly is
mm,
that simple, and you're all in your head, and everybody deals with your own battles and their own stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But when you get to that point, like a good example I have, one of my buddies, Envious, or
mm,
Envy is kind of short for him. He's been in the game for a long time, competitive sniper, constantly streams, really connects with a lot of people, and we share a lot of mutual friends. But he would only stream his gameplay. He would never have face cam. He would always be scared and be shy. And every now and then we get into these conversations. Hey, you should do it. Blah blah blah. And right before my podcast, I actually did a podcast with him. I don't remember what number it was. A couple months ago, like a couple weeks before we did that podcast, I was like, hey, like you should do it. Like I believe in you. Like if it's something that you're not fully uncomfortable with, like not like pressuring him, but like, hey, like I really
mm.
do believe that you can step outside of your comfort zone. It was something he wanted to do. He was just holding himself back. Like, oh, people are gonna make fun of me. The way that I look, the way that I talk. They're not blah 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 whatever. And literally 2 days after this dude did a face cam reveal, he was like, do you want to do a podcast? And I was like, you're telling me the same man that had this big, long discussion about how uncomfortable he was, and now you want to do a podcast with me? Like, I was just
Mm.
amazed. I was like, man, you really stepped outside of your comfort zone. And he was like, it's not really the fact that I'm looking for that. It's just like, once I did it, like, I had to take it in that first day of everybody saying all this stuff. And he was like, the second day I woke up doing this face cam stuff, I was like, I'm fine. Like I'm comfortable now. And
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like I appreciate that and I love that out of him. And we did the podcast and it was a great conversation. And now every time he streams, he has his face cam on. I think he did some type of tournament like a month or two ago with his family, and had all of that on face cam stuff. So it's like he really went
Yeah.
out of his way, and it's just amazing. It's awesome to be able to see things like that. And it just kind of goes back to the old saying, like I know it's like a harsh reality and it's a dumb saying for everybody that's having those experiences, but it truly is that easy. If you get out of your comfort zone, like it will happen and it'll hit you, like not calling yourself a dummy, but you're like, man, I should have done this so long ago. And you can't
Yeah.
look back on the fact that you never did it. Just be thankful that you're finally there.
That's where I'm at right now, like in my point of my career. And I mentioned starting back, 3 years ago. I had some really big health hiccups. As soon as stuff was going really well for me, I was getting ready to get partnered on one of my platforms, and I had to stop for like 3 months straight, and I came back, and it was just like I went from having 75 to 80 average viewers to just like 10 to 15, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm done. Like what do I do?
Hmm.
And it's just like that comfort zone thing again is like I was able to reach out to people and like let them know what was going on and apologize and take accountability and I slowly worked that back up and then I'm in school still. I went to university full time. I'm still in college. I work full time job, so obviously, you got to pay the bills. And
Yeah.
streaming and content creation doesn't do that for. It still doesn't do that for me. I'm not even close. But
Right.
it's something to where like I had to take a step back and really got back into it this year. And so I decided to just restart my whole platform. And because I was confident, like let's scratch everything. I don't want to live with regrets, but let's scratch everything that old Flamey did. And like he's got a great followings and all this stuff like on Twitch and he's got tons of people that he's met all over the place playing all sorts of different games. Let's just lock in and start building a community that everything we've learned over the years we can represent like right here and now. And so I started doing that at the end of October, right after TwitchCon. I made the account the week before TwitchCon on October 9th, I believe. I'd have to look at like
Right.
I can actually tell you right now. I made that account literally, yep. So September 24th, my apologies. I made it at the end of September. I didn't stream on it for a week. I took the first week of October, got it affiliated, so I had a little badge at TwitchCon. And
Yeah.
then went to TwitchCon, went on that trip, came back and just full locked in.
Yeah.
And I would say like I will 100% sacrifice that 80 average viewers for the 15 to 20 I'm getting now any day of the week because all
Yeah.
15 to 20 of these people that I have, and there's more than that, but
Right.
all the people I have coming into my community now are locked in with that same mission mindset that I've now made the world aware that I want to do.
Yeah.
And that would not have happened if I didn't step out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, and I
So
think that's a really beautiful thing too, because I think you had a mental reset to kind of do that, and I think that's kind of a little page that somebody could take out of your book if they're struggling with what they built. I think the biggest thing that us creators deal with is where we have posted so much content before, and then when we get burnt out, we start looking back on that content and we're like, oh, well, nobody's really going to make a big deal about it because I've posted tons of things before and I'm just going through a hiatus. And if you decide to take that and delete your stuff and start fresh or rebrand or whatever, now your motivation is I have nothing. Nobody knows nothing of me. Anything that I used to have before, they can't see. And so your motivation now should be let's get it going and let's do everything that I can. So I think that's very impactful and kind of something, it's obviously that's not going to be something for everybody to an extent. Some people could say that's an extreme, but it all depends on where your mindset's at. If that's what you want to do, and just like your background, like you said, that's what you wanted to do. You did it. You went to TwitchCon, and things have been changed ever since. And I'm definitely proud of you for that. One thing that I did want to add on, obviously we've talked about gaming a ton. I don't think we've specifically talked about streaming it. We've talked about streaming in a bunch of different aspects, but give me a little bit of background on how you got into streaming. Was it Twitch that you first streamed on? How did you discover it? What made you get into, let me start sharing this with other people?
Yeah, so I touched like based on it a little bit in like my conversation earlier, with the background with COVID and everything. I started getting on Twitch during COVID and talking with people, gaming with people that streams, and I realized I had a lot in common with them. My story was very similar. I had a lot of I don't want to put myself above these creators. I will never
Mhm.
ever do that. But I noticed that I was just as much of a people person as far as personality. Like my personality was there, if not even higher. That I'm
Yeah.
a lot. I'm a lot to handle. And so I started realizing that like I have what it takes to be in the space. I'm genuine. I'm authentic. I have a story, and that's all people want is they want something to relate to. And so I started streaming, and that's what kind of took me here. Was just getting involved during COVID. I started watching Twitch. Everybody was locked at home. There was so many streamers. We talk about all the negative things that COVID did, but I'm a big optimist, and I like to think about that COVID really brought influencer lifestyle to light. COVID made it known that anybody can be a content creator. Anybody can be an influencer. You can make a living off doing what you love, no matter what it is. Just start streaming and just start posting about it. TikTok, as much hate as it gets, really has made a life for
Oh
so
yeah.
many people. And
100%.
we go on there, we see knitting, we see cooking, we see cleaning, we see gaming, we see podcasts, everything you could ever think of. There's a niche for somebody in the content space now. And before it was just gaming. And that's what I think a lot of people struggle to realize is that you can't just be a gaming content creator anymore. You've
Yeah.
got to be more. Anybody can get good at the game. Anybody can play the game just as good as you if they put enough time into it. You've got to bring something else to the space, whether that's your personality, or that's how you interact with people on a daily basis. What do you have to bring that somebody else doesn't? Because the space is saturated. The space is very saturated, and so that kind of what brought me here today. I started like just focusing on that personal connection with people outside of just what I love doing, which was gaming, which gave me a platform to talk to those people. So that's kind of how I took streaming from what it was to me, was just going live and testing it to where I am now, where I have a community that comes in and loves it as much as I do every night. So
Yeah, definitely. And I mean that's the most generous thing you can say about it. Obviously, I mean gaming is nothing like what it was anymore. And me and you talked, a little bit before we started, the things like I do. Like I have my podcast, I have Beatball reactions, and then on Twitter is where most of my COD content goes into. And same thing for me. Like I know that there's other people that can hit the exact same stuff that I do. But even like a little small example is like there was this time where I hit a 6 on and I was like, "Are you still watching?" I stood up in my chair and started twerking. Like just doing like dumb stuff, and it's like, yeah, like anybody can hit a 6 on, but who throws ass after you?
Right.
Like just something stupid, just something that makes people laugh, something that gives them something to remember. And I think that's the more important thing that just not a lot of people understand.
Yeah, because they don't connect. I've had this saying for a long time, and I haven't said it in a minute, so I'm gonna see if I can get it right. But when people watch you as a streamer, people don't want to interact with the player in the game. They want to interact with the player behind the game. So whoever's playing the game, whoever's actually controlling it, they don't care about your character in the game, and that's why a face cam is so important.
Hmm.
There's always these tons of creators who have made it without a face cam. They have amazing personalities, and they're probably very talented at the game, which is why they've made it there. But without that kind of algorithm to you, if you are not insanely skilled at the video game or have something going on in the game that nobody else does, like you can't make it as a faceless creator. You just can't. There's got to be something that people can relate to outside of the character in the game. And yeah, so like you said, anybody can hit a 6 on, but what you did afterwards gave them something to react to, an emotional thing. And that's all people want nowadays, is
Yeah.
to be able to react, to be able to feel what you're feeling, and that people love celebrations and reactions and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I can understand why you did that. Was just natural for you, but to them they enjoyed it. So
Yeah. And I think
for sure.
that's the biggest thing about it, like, and it's kind of like I said again before we started this, like everybody's just kind of competing nowadays, and there's a lot of creators out there that have just kind of figure out the best way to put this without making somebody offended. There's just a lot of people that have lost their purpose or their goal
Yeah.
of why they started gaming and what their intention was. And there's a lot of creators out there that have started because they love it and this is what they want, to now, if there's not enough people in their stream, they may not be there for that long. And it kind of stinks. And it's not really even the fact. I mean, there's people that get lost in it. Like you can
Yeah.
get lost in the fame or whatever's going on, or you're in a real life situation, whatever's going on. I mean, everybody has different things going on. So it's never a bad thing to have a reality check of where you want to be, not how things are going for you.
One thing I kind of want to transition this into a little bit. I don't want to take the steering wheel,
No, you're
but
good.
I kind of like where you started that. I want to take us into that, like that almost fallout is what you just described, that fall
Hmm.
off kind of feeling. And as somebody who's gone through it multiple times, I definitely have some history and some experience to capitalize on that. One thing I do, first of all, as a streamer is I never have my chat numbers open. For me, at least, since I'm so busy, I don't get to sit in front of a screen for 8 to 12 hours a day
Hmm.
every day and stream. If I ever go full time with it, of course I might be able to do that, and it might start impacting me more. But I take what I have and I work with it. So I'm gaming, and when I'm gaming, I'm streaming. I don't really game
Yeah.
offline too much. I do a little bit to help friends record and to play with my roommates and people who don't necessarily play the games that I play on stream. But for the most part, when I'm gaming, streaming is just something that's happening on the side, and not everybody can do that because one thing as a streamer you have to really be intact with is that chat. And I know firsthand that it can be very demotivating when you're someone like me who's always like looking at the chat. Even mid game, it's like you're looking at there and there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
And so one thing I would just say to people is you never know who's watching. Um, at the end of the day, like you have to be entertaining 100% of the time you're streaming. And whether that's just commentating, whether that's like having reactions, whatever it is, even if there's nobody chatting, just like have fun with it. And I think that's one of the things that like gets people so demotivated with streaming. And it is tough. There's no way to teach somebody how to do it because like you can't just sit there and pretend there's people there that's not. Like that's a lot to ask. It takes time to learn how to do that, and it's definitely easier when there is somebody chatting, or you do see a viewer number. But I would just say treat it as if you had 1,000 viewers in your stream. Have fun with it. It's always easier to play with friends. If you're somebody who's not having people in their chat, it's 100% more convenient to have somebody to talk to in voice chat. So whether that's through
Yeah.
like a fill mode in your games, or um, actually having online friends that just play games with you. Like I know now, if I wanted to, I could DM anybody from a 200 person list, and they'd be like, "Yeah, let's game." Like that's just people that I've met over the years. But I started where people started. Like I had 0 viewers, I had 3 viewers, I had 5 viewers, but no chatters. Like I've been there, and it's always been like my thing that when that happens, I just bring somebody into the voice call, and I play games with them, or I do content that doesn't necessarily revolve just around me.
Yeah.
And then I've gotten up to those points where I've been at 75 to 100 viewers, and I've fallen off completely. And then it's like, oh, what do I do now? Well, like we mentioned earlier, not everybody's motivated the same way. For me, I saw my rebranding as a chance to like take everything I've learned over the years and just take off with it 100%. Basically having no wasted space, no wasted
Right.
time. Like everything I'm doing is with a purpose. And it took me those years to find that purpose and find what I wanted to do and how to do it. More importantly, how to do it. And I did management side of things before I did streaming. Before I was a content creator, I did management. I didn't really mention that, but I did
Mhm.
like scouting for Fortnite. I did scouting, and I did interviews and management and Twitter management. So like how to hit algorithms, stuff like that. So I take a lot of my offline time investing into what I do in my online time. And I think that helps me with that fall off mentality, is I know that like that going live button is the less part of my day. And it's the most important part of my day, as far as like to me personally interacting with those people. But at the end of the day, it is the least important to doing what I want to do. Um, the way I always like to say it is networking happens offline. You build your brand offline and you connect with your brand online. So build your brand through TikTok, YouTube, Twitter specifically is a great place to find people with things in common, and then you get to connect with that community. I don't like to call them an audience, but they are an
Right.
audience. But that community online when you go live. And I think people stream for 8 to 10 hours a day and like, oh man, I get no viewers, and then they're like, why am I not growing? Why am I not doing this? And it's because you're spending 8 to 10 hours a day streaming. Don't ever do that unless you're averaging. I would even say like 30 to 50. Like that's almost low. Some creators would definitely disagree. I would not be streaming over 4 to 6 hours tops at any period of time to anything less than that. And I understand some people might get offended by that or disagree, but to each their own. I'm just telling you what I've been through. I've been at that viewer count more times than I can count on 2 hands, and how I got out of that was spending more time offline. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
that's
mean,
how I deal with my downs. That's
I
how I deal with
definitely
my downs.
agree. I think another thing too is kind of like the old saying of like leaving a legacy. And it's like
Mm,
it may not make sense, but when you are going live and stuff, that's something a lot of people get wrapped up in your head. Like, oh, I have to go live today, like blah 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 blah. And there are
mm,
people that stream, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a day. They stream and then they end and then they go to bed and then nothing happens with all of that stuff that they just worked on, and that kind of thing stinks. And so what I mean by building a legacy is that if you're so fixated on going live and that's your only part to your day is going live, saying hi to everybody, and then just living to fight another day, after that stream is over, they technically don't know you. If you don't post, if you don't tweet, if you don't upload any type of
mm-hmm.
content or anything, they don't know you aside from who's going on. So hypothetically, if something happened to you and you wasn't in that space anymore, or whatever happens in your real life and you didn't stream anymore, you'd be forgotten, And
Yeah.
it's like, then when you'd come back, you would have like this ego, be like, oh, like you're not here anymore. Like, I'm sorry, I had a break. Like, why are you not here? And it's like, because you don't leave nothing behind for people to remember you, to want to be happy when they see you again. And I think that's kind of a more so, kind of harsh reality, that it's like, it may sound harder than what it is, but at the end of the day, if you don't leave nothing behind, it's kind of the same thing, just like being with a business or being with a brand like NorCal or anything else, with a company. If you have nothing to offer, they have nothing to gain. And so if you don't leave nothing behind, there's no reason for them to come back just to see a face that says hey to you and they're thankful that you're here. But then you do nothing with them, you don't involve them, they're just watching. It's like watching a TV show, And it's like it sucks. I don't like putting it that way. Again, kind of like you. I'm not trying to make anybody offensive, but at the end of the day, it's not as
It's the
simple
truth.
anymore. We can't.
It's the truth.
It's not PewDiePie days. You know, we can't just go
Mm.
and throw some games up and have fun, and then make bank, and then just hire editors and go crazy. It's not that simple anymore.
Yeah, you really have to do work your butt off for it, and I like how you touched on the fact that you're not giving them a piece of you while you're not there, because that's part of that, building your brand offline is how you connect with them online. One thing I did differently, I just took a 2 week break. I just came back like literally 3 days ago. Not even
Yeah.
I came back Friday night, and so I came back Thursday night, posted that I was back, went live Friday, went live Saturday, and yeah, the results were just insane. But this whole like I'd never taken a break for over 3 days where I came back to even a hyper community with new people or like the same amount before. I always lost.
Yeah.
But one thing that I did this time that was different was I posted every single day on Twitter. I
Hmm.
stayed active on my socials, and I took a mental health break, so it was not me the whole time. I had one of my mods managing my Twitters. I set him posts that I wanted, and he did it, and I'm thankful for him. But it's one of those things where like if you're not connecting, like there's no reason for them to remember you. This content space is so fast, it's so saturated. Just like when you raid out to somebody, they might find you have that risk of like them finding somebody else that they enjoy better than you. At the end of the day, like that's what happens when you're not online. If you're not giving them a reason to stay connected with you, they're gonna go move on to somebody else. If that's something that they crave and that feeling that they want to relate to somebody, they're gonna go find somebody else to do that with. It's a scummy thing to think about, but it's you really do have to have people on a hook consistently. Like you have to give them something, some reason to be there. Like you said, a partnership is what do you have that I can take that I can also give back to. For a viewer, that's like, oh, you're giving me an entertaining content, you're giving me good vibes. Now I'm giving you my time and I want to be here.
Hmm.
And so yeah, if you're giving them a gap in that, it becomes a routine sometimes to just click into that Twitch stream if you're live every single day for them. It's like, oh wow, live noti, click, click, 7 p.m. every day, click, click. Like, but the moment you stop doing that, they fall out of routine.
Yeah.
And then they look to your other socials and they see nothing and they're like, well, did he just quit on us? Like what happened? And then you come back and you're like, well, where's
Yeah.
everybody at?
And a lot of
Nobody knew
people,
anything.
there's a lot of viewers out there that kind of get offended too. It's like, why are you not live anymore? Like, can you, like, like clearly, I like watching you and stuff. Like, there are people out there.
Mm,
Like, I know that kind of sounds weird, but there's people that
no,
will get offended if you're not live anymore, and that's kind of something that can start up drama. Like
for
if you
sure.
don't post and then you stop going on your normal times, then people that use you as a liability to make their day better. If you're not updating them, it's just like a friend or a coworker. Like if you don't
Mm,
show up to your shift, they'll get a little upset. And it's like people care about you, and it hurts to care about you. And when you give them so much of yourselves to where they now want to be a part of your lifestyle, and then you exclude them out of any content or anything else that you've got going on, and you just kind of go live when you want to, they'll start distancing that relationship from you and not be the friend that you want them to be. And then you make that
mm,
post about saying how I have no friends and everybody's snakes and blah blah blah. And it's like you just got to look in the mirror sometimes. Like it's a tough reality. I hate saying it that way, but it's a tough reality. But everybody goes through the same stuff. We all have hard times. We all go through things. We're all just trying to be happy and be motivated and go forward with your life. And you have to surround yourself with people like that around you. If you don't, you're just going to
mm.
constantly be depressed and be upset.
For sure, for sure. No, I totally agree with that. And one thing that I really like that you said is like they want to be a part of your life. When you're one thing I've always held myself accountable for, and as a creator, that's the number one word I can give everybody is be accountable for your actions. And realize that you have made an impact on people, whether you realize it or not. No matter how small it is, you have touched somebody's life. Once you get to a position where you're getting any kind of viewership or chatting, you've done something for someone,
Yeah.
and you owe it to them to let them know what's going on. For me, I just had one of my best friends pass away, and it's what caused this break, and I had to get offline. But I made sure that my community knew that I wasn't going to be around. I'll be reachable, but I won't be streaming. If you need me, my DMs are open. I'm still here. I won't be in front of a camera until I'm ready to hit that go live button. And that's something I feel like a lot of other streamers struggle with too, is they feel like they have to go live like it's their job. Some of the ones that are trying to make a living off of it, I understand where they're coming from, but I've always made a promise to myself and to my community that I will never ever hit the go live button if I am not in the right headspace to deliver you guys positive vibes. Like I
100%.
can't, and I know that's cringe to say, but like I I'm very proud of my authenticity and my energy and how I represent myself on screen, with like smiling and happy, and I will never go live if I can't uphold those standards.
Yeah.
It's not fair to me. It's not fair to you as a viewer to be in there and, feel what I'm feeling if I'm not in the right headspace. And so I'll just skip the day. I'll
Yeah.
post about it. I'll post in Discord. That's why it's very important for that offline stuff is to grow a community outside. You can connect with your live viewers there too, and just be like, hey, I'm not feeling it today. I'm sorry, guys. I'll be back another time. And one thing I've always struggled with too is like the donation part of things. Like, you feel like you have to go live because you're gonna fall off or miss out. But like for me, I can't even take money from my family. Like my grandma's like, hey, here's $50 for your birthday. Like I'm like, grandma, like thank you, but like abuelita, I don't need it. And like it's been a thing that I've definitely had to go out of my comfort zone and cope with is that like people are going to want to support me, and it's been a lot more recently. Monetary has never been something that I've streamed for.
Right.
But I've got to realize that like if I want to do this more and I want to do this full time, then like obviously monetary has got to be part of the equation.
Mhm.
And I've just gotten to the point where like instead of not knowing how to take it, I just thank them. I let them know how much they're appreciated, and I just keep it up.
Yeah.
And I one thing that happened, like I just got back from like I said a 14-day break, and I had one of the biggest monetary streams of my
Yeah.
life. I don't mind leaking the fact that I made almost half a grand, and
Yeah.
that's like usually what I make in a month sometimes.
Yeah.
And so just to see that after a 14-day break, I'm like, well, why do I deserve this? Like, what did I do to you that like
Right.
makes you want to give this to me? And that kind of just is like you have an impact on somebody, even when you
Yeah.
don't think. Like I've made that much of an impact on people that they're willing to come in and they're so excited to see me back, even more than I'm excited to be back, and just give as much as they did was just incredible.
Yeah, definitely. And
So
I think that's kind of the more important thing. Obviously, of course, my regards go out to your friend. I hate to hear that. Obviously, that's
no,
never a
yeah.
fun time. But I think that's kind of the silver lining, behind it, because you're telling me about your community and how everything went well, and you had a banger stream. And I think that's kind of the more important part. I think and everybody needs this realization. I obviously don't know you too well. Obviously, I'm getting to know you and stuff, and we're building and branching. But something I can already tell you is that I'm proud of you. I mean, just hearing all this stuff about your community and things that you support, you definitely matter. And that is very clear, off of what you just said after getting back from your 2-week break. And a lot of people have struggled taking a small break or something, coming back and having nobody. And it's because the way that you design yourself. And clearly, you have designed yourself to be very meaningful and impactful and engaging with your community when you're not on the camera. And that is the most important thing that you can do as a creator, is to build friendships when nobody's watching.
Mm,
And something that I think you've done very well, as clearly what I can tell. And I think it's obviously the monetary value, it's cool and everything, but it's more of a sentimental thing, because I guarantee you they're not just doing that money to say, hey, let's make him smile because he's feeling down. It's, hey, I have this, let me give it to him because I know he's feeling a bit down and I know he's going to appreciate it and he deserves it. And I think that is the more finer things in life, is when, because you never know who's going to walk into your life. You never know what group of people is going to make a change or change your, animosity towards anything.
yeah.
But it's the beautiful thing behind it of, it's crazy how we struggle through some of our hardest times and it somehow ends up being some of the best times. I mean, same thing with me. Because like I said, this year, or last year per se, has been the worst year I've ever had financially. I was unemployed for 4 or 5 months, having a lot of problems finding a job, having, paying my mortgage like 1 or 2 days before it defaults and stuff. Just all this stuff I'm not really that comfortable talking about, but at the end of the day, like, everybody goes through things. And just every single month, I was just worrying about bills. What am I going to do? What am I going to pay? Okay, I got my paycheck. What am I going to pay today? Everybody has those struggles and stuff.
Mm,
But, I had such a tough year, and that kind of brought me to where I did this podcast back in August when I said I really released and launched. That's when I finally got back with a good company. Things were finally going well, and I was happy where I was at. And I started understanding, I can make a difference with this time that I've been given. And I just think that's
yeah.
the important thing. And I do kind of want to tap into it a little bit more. I always do ask everybody if there's anything you want to talk about. And I know we've kind of already talked about it a little bit, but you was talking about, the life of a creator when you're offline. So, to other people that are watching, let's just say they constantly go live every single day. They don't post, they don't whatever. Why is it so important for them to take less time streaming and more time into content or building connections? Why is that so important?
Reason number one is really, burnout. I think living that lifestyle of go live, go to sleep, go live, go to sleep, or anything in between that is the number one cause of burnout. You see the least amount of growth through Twitch. Twitch is not a platform that, is unsaturated or even algorithm friendly enough to push you out to creators. And so you're just you're not going to see the results you want putting the hours you want in. Like, you don't realize it, but if you're putting 100 hours a weekend and you're getting 5 followers, like that's gonna make you burn. I don't know how much that'd
Yeah.
make me burn out eventually. Like, I'm putting 100 hours of my time in. That's like $1,500 to, like, that's a lot of money. Like, you could be working, and and then you're financially stressed because you don't have money. Like, a lot of things go into it. But like, that offline part gives you a chance to meet people and not treat it like a job, because I think a lot of people go live with the expectation to make it a career and to make money, and not everybody has that gift. That, I was blessed enough to have that mentality that this is just for fun. Like, I'm gonna see where this takes me. A lot of people they see people making all this money and like, okay, I'm gonna be a streamer and I'm gonna be successful. But then they start streaming and they're like, why am I not growing? Like, I have everything. Like, I'm good at the game. Like, why am I not growing? And then that's when you get depressed and demotivated and you just stop or just like get these emotional mood swings. You're like, oh, I can't do this, and then you're like, oh, I can't do this, and you're like, oh wow, let's go live. And that energy is not people want consistency, just like I
Yeah.
said, it's like a routine. And that offline part is where you make those connections. It's where you talk to people, or people really get to for me at least, when I'm hanging out in VCs and even in person, I've met a lot of my community and a lot of the friends that I've met in person. I have a very fun job. I work at Universal Studios. So getting online is a very fun thing for me. I love making people smile. It's been all about my branding, and getting to meet those people offline and let them see that, like, wow, Flamey is silly goofy. Like, this is his energy in real life too. Like, he's super authentic. And like, the amount of times I've heard that in person have just like made me want to keep doing what I'm doing. But I would never have had that happen if I didn't talk to these people offline and hang out with them outside of just this screen time. Like,
Yeah.
even if it's screen time, like, Discord calls are so important. I have a friend of mine that grinded offline for a year. He got partnered in 30 days. 30 days on Twitch. Never went live before. He grinded offline on Discord, Omegle, like, just in-game chats, letting people know who he was, like, as a personality. Like, this is how he's funny.
Yeah.
He's supportive. He got into 1,000 followers offline before he ever went live. He went live, got partnered in 30 days, and now he's making a full-time career out of it. He starts streaming for a living 24/7. And that would have never happened if he just sat there and went live the whole time. He decided to
Yeah.
build a community offline and then take that community with him up. And that's something that I've really incorporated into my lifestyle the last year or so. Is just making sure that I'm constantly on Twitter meeting people. I'm reaching out to them, not the other way around.
Right.
Whether it's just a like on a tweet or a comment on a post, like, no matter how small the person is, they're a potential community member for you or a potential friend. Like, let people know that, like, this is who you are. You're supportive. You're genuine. You like to go out of your way to be for people, and people will naturally come to you if that's who you are as a person. Don't be fake about it. If that's not what you want to be, if you just want to post clips, then post clips. But you got to support people so that they come to you on the offline as well. But like, if that's who you are, is you want to be that comfy, cozy, like, personality streamer like I am. That's why I consider myself variety, because I genuinely feel like I can play any game and people will still show up
Yeah.
because they're there for me. They're not. I've made it to the point where they're there for me. They're not there for the gameplay. I'm not there anymore. And so, like, you need to be offline talking to people, because the opportunities that you're gonna get talking to those people outside of the Twitch chat are just immense. And my TwitchCon experience this year is just the most set in stone example I can give of that. Like, I was hanging out with influencers that, like, I was drooling over. Like, just, yeah, I mean, I got to meet Dream. That was freaking insane.
Yeah.
Dream, Clicks. I got to meet, like, Netflix stars, T Grizzly, like, managers of huge companies. But like, none of that would have happened if I didn't brand myself and I just went live all the time. That's how I started my account. Is I'd go live all the time, and I didn't do TikTok, I didn't do YouTube, I didn't do Discord, and I did grow to like 30 to 40 average somehow, just being active in people's chats. Like, you can do it. It is just so demotivating, and you start thinking about, like, why isn't this person supporting me? So you really do got to get offline, and you gotta have those interactions with people off the screen, because that's gonna be what makes them come back to you on the screen.
Yeah, and
So.
I think one more thing, where you had said the word demotivating, I think to switch that to the term rewarding, I think that's a
Mm,
lot more of a perspective you can get. Like, yeah, like, you can go live all the time and have this insane grind and say we finally made it, but you're putting a lot more work in than what you're gaining. So definitely by
mm.
doing that and connecting and stuff, it will definitely feel a lot more rewarding knowing that you've put in the time when people don't even see you, and now you've made it. I think that's the more important thing for sure. So two more small questions I want to ask before we kind of start wrapping things up here. We've talked a lot about networking. We've talked about mental health and how it's important for other people. So people that struggle with networking, whether they are in their own head,
Mm.
whether they feel uncomfortable reaching out to people, they don't like it, they're not kind. What are they going to say? What are they going to do? Whatever. What advice would you give to other people that either don't understand what networking is, or they want to, but they just feel like they're going to be perceived in a different light?
Okay, so networking has a different definition to a lot of people. Some people see networking as talking to people. Some see networking as just getting your name in front of a screen, almost advertising to an extent, which is, I definitely incorporate that into my networking as well. I have a lot of interpersonal networking and a lot of numbers-based networking. For me, interpersonal networking, and I don't want to say it's the least important, but it's the least and most important at the same time. And let me elaborate. What I mean by that is it's the most important for making those long-term connections and getting like-minded people into your life, but it's the least important to your brand growth unless
Mhm.
you do something with it. So it's nice to have those people who you can talk to and ask questions, and that's where that networking comes from. And potentially get a raid here or there, if that's something that you're wanting to get out of that relationship. But for the most part, for me, I like to use those to keep intact of what my creator friends are doing. How are they changing the space? What can I do to incorporate what they're doing that's successful into my content? And that's where that interpersonal networking really comes in, because I'm open to asking them questions. They're open to responding. They know they can come to me and I can come to them. The numbers part of networking is really where I think people underestimate and they don't realize how easy it is. Twitter is a platform where you can instantly get connected to someone right then and there. You can explore any term you want, any like Fortnite,
Right.
Valorant, COD. You can twitch.com, kick.com if you're streaming on Kick, Rumble, whatever you're doing. And you can see those posts that are literally happening right then and there. People are on the site as you speak. You see something really cool you like, hey, drop a like on it, comment, yo, this sick was clip. Or wow, English is hard. Yo, this clip was sick. Let's go ahead and we should run some games sometime. Or like, hey, I saw you're a streamer. Like, I'd love to play sometime together on stream. So I don't ever want to go to straight self promotion. I like to start a conversation first. But those kind of things are really easy to do and they're long term beneficial. And then on top of that, when I talk about like streaming with people, that's something that I struggle with. I have a very hard time. Even now, like I talk about all this stuff about networking, but I still don't do a good job playing with other streamers on stream.
Mhm.
But one thing that I've started doing and feeling more comfortable with, if I was going to be streaming with players all the time, for me, I'm a community-based streamer, so I like to play with my community more than other streamers. But if they're my friends, I play with them. But I always look for people that are around the same size as me, maybe a little bit
Yeah.
bigger, a little bit smaller. Because obviously, let's be realistic. You can't just reach out to Clicks and say like, "Hey, Clicks, like stream with me."
Yeah.
Like that's not gonna happen. You gotta understand that's not because they don't want to. It's not because they hate you. It's not because they have an ego. It's because they have a brand, and they have to be protective and they have to be professional. And so it's just easier to reach out to people that are at the same level as you, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, and just connect with people that are in that grind mode just like you. And that once again gives you something to relate to someone with and really push your point of why you want to create with that person. So if you're ever looking to stream with somebody, like if I average 25 viewers right now, I'd be looking for other streamers that range between like I'd say even smaller ones like 5 to 40 viewers. Like that's a big range to me. I've got some partnered friends that once again I would not know they were partnered unless I talked to them offline that would be open to playing with me now. I had DMs with about 5 of them yesterday and was like, hey, I'd love to get some games in. I'm like, yeah, what's your time zone? Like, let's get going. But once again, you got to be offline doing those kind of networking things to be able to play with those people around your size. But like we said earlier, the worst thing you can get is a no or an ego DM.
Yeah.
I have DMs with creators as big as FaZe Blaze. I have his brand in my DMs. I have owners of organizations, except members, like big things that like I would never happen if I didn't reach out and like say, hey, this is who I am. Like, can we do this? And yeah, like I hate to flex, but FaZe Blaze is a pretty cool follow that I have, and
Yeah.
to actually have a conversation with him outside of just the mutual is a really cool thing because like he's got millions, millions of followers, and
Right.
and just to realize that like just to give you guys some inspiration, like he loves talking. Like he thanked me in DMs personally for just having a conversation with him and not bringing up business stuff. Like I commented on something of his that he posted about basketball, and we just had a conversation about that, and didn't talk business, didn't talk streaming, and yeah, and so they're creators, they're humans before they're creators, and so just don't be afraid to network, bro.
Yeah,
Don't
and
be
I
afraid.
think that's a more important thing too. I think it all matters of what your intentions are. You know, like networking and stuff. You know, to some people it's hard, to some people it's easy, but it matters of your intentions. You know, and just like you said, you know, if you reach out genuinely to somebody and disregarding what they've built and just focusing solely on the conversation, that's what they're going to care about. And I mean, teams are the same way. You know, like you're grinding for teams. Oh, I want to be a part of this or whatever. And then every time you talk to anybody within that, you're like, hey, what's going on with the team? What's going on with the team? What's going? You know, like then they're like, oh, you know, it starts getting annoying, and you're not. It's just not as fun for them. So I mean, having conversations with other people about just whatever the topic is or about them is way more important. And if you're solely focused just on what you can gain for yourself, even if you make it to the top, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be sad.
Of
You're going to
course.
hate things, and you're going to be like, oh, like, you know, this is pointless, and like you've come so far and you gain nothing. So
Mm,
I think that's a more important thing, is you have to also know your intentions behind, you know, why you're wanting to network and why you're wanting to branch out, and it can make a big difference, you know. And just like I said
mm,
before, like you never know who is going to be in your life.
right. Right. And then I think that's a big word is intentions because everybody's got their own mindset. You know, obviously as a big creator, they're thinking, ah, this guy just wants something from me. Like, of course, at the end of the day, like I'm not reaching out to you because I want to talk about basketball. Like there's business behind it, but just a common human life skill with when it comes to interpersonal communication is relate with the person. Talk about them first. Like come to them and show them that you care and who that shows who you are as a person. On top of that, before you ask anything about business, like when we were at TwitchCon, I was hanging out with my buddy. His name's Ace North. He's a great guy.
Yeah, love
And we would
this.
just we'd go up and we'd just be like, what's up? My name's this. Like, I love this. Like, I love this about you. Like, I'm a huge fan because that just seems cringy. Like, sometimes people just don't want to be known as like a celebrity or an influencer. They don't want fans. They
Hmm.
want friends and people that they can relate with. And so we're just like, hey, what's up, man? I love how you do this. I love what you do. Like, we stay away from certain words, and that just makes a person feel good because the moment you mention fan or the moment you mention numbers or anything like analytic wise, they know what you're there for.
Right.
And it just they have their pre-decision made and everything they say to you is going to be shallow. It's going to be trying to end the conversation. But at the end of the day, it is business, and you do have to they do understand that people are reaching out to them to get stuff done. For me, I've never even had a conversation with FaZe Blaze about numbers. We've only talked about basketball. We talked about his brand Charged Chocolate. I did talk to him about getting not sponsored but doing a like a once again something for him. I wanted to do a
Hmm.
review, like an honest
Yeah.
reaction for him. And we got that worked out. That's in the works.
Yeah.
But like once again, I didn't go to him like, hey, I want to like these are my numbers. I want to charge chocolate sponsorship. I went and I started a conversation. I got feeling comfortable. Like I made him know that like my intentions are not purely for me. Like I do genuinely care, and that's authentic because at the end of the day, I do want numbers, but like I'm a person first, like I said before. I'm a creator, and that's who I am as a person, as
Yeah.
somebody who cares and who really wants to be optimistic and motivative to anybody I come in contact with. So
Yeah.
just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Like, but be a
Definitely.
person first. Don't self promote. Don't anything like that until the conversation has started. Have two or three text backs, and they'll be like, hey, so I'm actually a streamer. Like whatever you got to say. But like don't start it with that.
Right.
I hate those DMs I get like, hey, I'm a streamer. Can you follow me? Like like
Yeah.
I'll do it, but like I'm gonna be honest, like I'll probably never interact with you again unless you interact with me because you just made an impression to me that like you only want me there as like somebody who's
Yeah.
gonna be in your stream.
Hundred
So,
percent. I think one more thing I have before we end off here. It's usually something I asked earlier, which is no big deal. We just kind of went off topic. It's just something I always like to cover, of where your name came from. So
oh,
where did Flamey simulate from? You know, how is Yo Flamey? You know, where did that incorporate from? Where did that come from?
so my branding is Flamey. Obviously fire, heat.
Hmm.
To me it's light. That's the vibes I give off. I'm always a very vibracious person. The room is warm when you're near me, and I want to be a light to the world. And so, not a simpler way to put it than that. Um, really just that's what my branding is I'm positive. Everything you can think about with warmth is where I come from. And yeah, I want to be a light and touch the lives of thousands, and the more people that come in, that fire is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
going to be
awesome.
like a signal fire. Come here, guys, come here. Like,
That's awesome.
so
Yeah,
that's
mine's
just
gonna be a damn SOS signal, like help me.
yeah, but that's where that came from. I branded a few times. I had some really cringe ones over the years. And I finally settled on this. I saw that fire was super brandable, but beyond the fact that, fire is something simple, it has a meaning to me. And a lot of people just think fire is like, oh, it's a cool thing. But then when they hear that, that's like
Yeah.
something that they think is really cool because it's like,
Yeah.
wow, he took fire and turned it into like a whole story. And
Yeah, and that's advice that I give to a lot of creators too. You know, a lot of people just kind of think of a random name or whatever, and like you don't have to. Like it really doesn't make a difference. But like for me personally, I love knowing, like for instance, like FaZe Blaze. You know, like understanding where Blaziken come from is a lot more meaningful and fun for me to understand than just government name yada yada or fucking Apple Eater 72, whatever. Like it's cool, and because that is who you are. You're creating a persona, you're creating a character, and you're trying to get people to understand and appreciate and want to be friends with you. So giving them back a background story of something that you believe in and a purpose that you're trying to perceive is a lot more important to than just making it and saying, hey, my name's Banana Muffin.
Even
So,
telling them that I like banana muffins is more than just my name's banana muffins. But
yeah.
for
But
sure.
anyway, so yeah, to wrap things up, is there anything else that you want to say to anybody watching before we end off here?
Oh God, I could keep talking for hours. But really, really, one thing I want to say to everybody is just real is rare. Be unique. Be yourself. Everybody is at their own pace in this content race, and I hate to use that word.
Mhm.
It's very saturated. It's condensed, but people will find you. Just think of every one of you. There's 10 million people on the internet, and somebody's gonna find who you are. But let them find you for who you are and not what you do, because don't try to fit in. Just be yourself, and yeah, show people who you are. Don't tell them. And I promise you, things will be less stressful. You'll build something authentic and something you can really be proud and just care about. And yeah, man, be you and be the change. You were uniquely made, and you need to show people how unique you are.
Definitely
So,
be the change that you want to see for sure. Well, yeah. Obviously, lastly, before we end off here, is there anything else that you want to share with anybody watching us coming up? Obviously, they can check you out down below. Right below your face is your X tag and the descriptions,
yeah.
all your socials and stuff. Is there anything you have coming up you want to share with them before we end off here?
I mean, yeah, I'm branching myself into like sponsorship content. I'm working with brands like Charged Chocolate, which is FaZe Blaze's company. I'm getting into long form videos on YouTube. I've been really a short form creator.
Nice.
And yeah, long form video comes out this Thursday. First one. I started working with a pretty big organization to do that. And yeah, streams every day, vibes every day, and Twitter's where you can find me the most.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to
Awesome.
keep working and hustling this year.
Yeah, I'm excited for you too, man. It's been an awesome conversation. I want to say thank you, for being able to sit down here and have this today. This is a very nice conversation, very back and forth conversation, and I'm just very appreciative that you had the time to be able to come here today. And for anybody watching, for you guys watching this too, I hope that anything that we talked about helps you in any shape or form.
Yeah, for sure, guys. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you so much for tuning in.
So yeah, so this has been episode 32 of Feeds Mindset. Again, please check Flamey down below, all his socials, everything. Thank you guys so much for tapping in. My name is Feeds, and I'm out, guys. Peace.
Deuces.